Hello guys, welcome to Redditor's Revenge. Here we post amazing revenge stories daily. And if you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with us. Moving to today's first story, about how OP teaches her mother a lesson on humanity after she sold his beloved pet without his knowledge. Thus he exacted his vengeance on her. Now story. I admit it, I get lonely sometimes. When you're 30 years old, with a successful job and all the comforts of life, but you don't have anything to come home to. You get lonely. I mean, sure, I have my mother, but she mostly keeps to herself and watches TV all day. She's been dropping kids about grandkids for a while, and I'm getting kind of fed up. I told her that I'm still too young to have kids, that I have all of my 30s to settle down and give her all the grandkids she wants. But this is time I would rather spend single. My name is Jake Adams, and I'm a managing director at a national firm. Within a few years of completing college, I've successfully retired my mother and built up a nice little savings nest for myself. To rid myself of her nagging, I decided to get a dog, a puppy, to be exact. With the energy levels most puppies have, I was sure to have my hands full and my time occupied. But I wasn't going to get just any puppy. I took my time, did my research, and looked up local shelters in my area where I could adopt puppies from. After consulting with various friends and colleagues, I decided on a golden retriever. There was a shelter near the house we lived in, and I decided to pay a visit there on my weekend. According to the shelter director, a nice man in his 40s, I was in luck and had come at just the right time. There was a pregnant golden retriever who was due to give birth any day now. They told me to wait for a week or two after the puppy was born to take it home. I agreed and started planning. I went to the shelter and they showed me the puppy. He was the tiniest, most adorable little thing. He was barely as big as my hand and cuddled with me as soon as I picked him up. I signed over the papers, thanked the shelter, and took him home. The little guy slept peacefully all the way there but woke up when we turned onto the street. He barked lightly a couple of times but soon quietened. I pulled the car into the driveway. To my surprise, my mother was standing on the porch, wearing one of her best dresses and a string of pearls. I got out and asked her what she was doing. Happily, she said that she knew that I had brought a girlfriend home and she was very excited because of that. Shocked, I asked her what gave her that idea. She said that that was what she had expected when I had said I was bringing someone home to meet her. I couldn't stop laughing. The last time she had worn those pearls were on her anniversary before my father had passed. I told her that, sadly, she was mistaken and that I had brought home a dog instead. As I said that, I opened the door and took out the brand new puppy. My mother was so surprised that she screamed in shock. She got red and asked me what the hell did I think I was doing. I said that I had told her a million times that I was not ready for a wife and that I didn't have anybody in my life yet that I wanted to be in a relationship with and to stop her nagging. I had decided to get a dog. Without saying anything else, she went inside and slammed the door. Knowing that she would come around, I went around the house, taking out the puppy's things and setting them around the living room. I put him in his crate with some milk and went to talk to her. She had locked herself in her room and was refusing to come out. She said she wasn't going to talk to me anymore until I agreed to return that thing where it came from. I told her to stop overreacting and that the dog was here to stay. She turned her back on me and told me to leave her alone. I went downstairs, contemplating what to do. I hadn't anticipated such a harsh reaction. Luckily, I had taken a few days off of work to help the puppy settle, so I could take care of things at home. Over the next few days, I bonded with the puppy. We became great friends. We played games and I fed him many times a day. He soon became stronger and chubbier. By the time my 2-week vacation was over, he was considerably bigger than before. I didn't feel as worried about leaving him alone now if I just filled up his water bowl and food bowl. Unfortunately, my mother had refused to show any interest in the puppy, not looking at him and ignoring his presence altogether. She never gave him treats or fawned over him. After the initial few days when she had figured out that he wouldn't be going anywhere, she had started talking to me again, stiffly and the bare minimum, but she was talking. The day I went back to work, I left her instructions to at least make sure that he had enough to eat. When I came back, I was surprised to find that the bowls were empty, and the puppy seemed to be thirsty. His tongue was sticking out of his mouth. I asked my mother about it and she said that he had finished the water bowl once. She had refilled it, and he had drunk all of that too. She told me that the puppy was being dramatic to get attention and that it was why she didn't like the dirty little things. It seemed a little strange to me, but I let it go. I watered him and fed him, and told the puppy that he could sleep with me that night. My mother scowled at this but didn't say anything. The next day, I made sure to fill 2 water bowls and told my mom to make sure he didn't go thirsty that day. She made a big fuss about it but agreed. When I came home that day, I was shocked to find that the front door was closed and that he was outside, whining in the sun. He was barking pitifully and was scratching at the door. I immediately let him in and went to find my mother. She made a big show of having just gotten out of bed and pretending like she hadn't heard him before. I was starting to get suspicious that she was doing this on purpose. I told her that I loved the puppy and that she needed to take better care of him. I provided her with everything, a house, and all the money and comforts that she could ever want. The least she could do was look after him, especially when she knew how important he was to me. She said that after the puppy had come home, I had started neglecting her and spent all my time with him and that she never got to see me anymore. She said that he was more important to me than she was. Essentially, she tried to guilt trip me. I wasn't having it and told her to not let anything like that happen again. I was pretty angry and refused to talk to her throughout the day. I spent all my time with my dog. I thought, let her have a taste of her medicine. The next few weeks went by without a fuss. There were no more accidents or mishaps with the puppy and I was glad of it. My mother still ignored him, swatting him away whenever he went near her or tried to play with her, but she wasn't as hostile as before. 2 months after he came to us, my mother and I planned a weekend out. We decided to go to the fair and then to the park, really making it a mother and son outing. She planned everything. I thought that it might be a peace offering for the way she had behaved in the past. The day of the outing came. I packed the puppy's snacks and his water and a few toys. When she came outside, she saw that I was loading the puppy into the car. She exploded, saying that this was meant to be for the 2 of us and that she had thought the little monster was staying home. Surprised, I asked her why she thought it would be safe to let a puppy stay by himself all day. Of course, he was coming with us. She said we could leave him with a neighbor or something. I refused to say that he could use the exercise and he was part of our family now. She should accept him as such. After a lot of grumbling, she agreed but gave me the silent treatment the entire time. She was silent and angry throughout the day. She ruined the day for both of us. Out of respect for her, I stayed quiet and didn't let my disappointment. It was fast becoming clear to me that something permanent needed to be done about this. The next Monday, I came home to find my precious little puppy limping. He was whining in pain, but my mother hadn't noticed a thing. I later discovered that his leg had been caught in the fence, and he had stayed there for hours, crying and whimpering. I immediately took him to the vet to get this little leg bandaged up. I comforted him and cuddled him, and he finally stopped whimpering. When I came home with him, I was mad as hell. I shouted at my mother that she was being mean and cruel, and that what she was doing was animal abuse. She shouted back at me that if I loved him that much, I should just quit my job and spend all day taking care of him rather than expecting her to do it for me. I stormed out, taking the dog with me, and spent the night at a friend of mine's place. I was too angry to stay with her. The next day, before work, I dropped him off at my place and warned my mother that he better be alright when I came back home. Afterward, when I came home, he was gone. My mother said that she had solved the problem once and for all, and that she had sold him. I would never get to see him again. I had never been angrier in all my life. I was livid with rage. My flesh and blood had hurt me so bad. I could see nothing but the images of my poor dog, helpless and alone in some cold place. That was it. I had to get my revenge somehow. The next day, the first thing I did was meet with a lawyer. I immediately asked him to put the house on sale. It was in my name and I had bought the house. That gave me full rights to evict my mother. I told the lawyer to get the papers ready and to evict my mother as soon as a buyer was found. My house was new and in a prime location, so I knew that it would be snatched up immediately. In the meantime, I moved out without telling my mother. I rented a hotel room and spent all my time trying to find my dog. I put up missing dog posters and shared pictures of him on social media. My friends and colleagues advised me to hire a private investigator to get the job done. I spent a week trying to find the best investigator for the job. 1.5 weeks after my dog got sold, I hired the best private investigator in the business to look into the matter. I paid the hefty fee for him to look across states because I knew that my mother would have made sure he wouldn't be easy to find. My mother called me several times to tell me that I needed to stop overreacting and come back to the house. I fought with her and told her that she had hurt me. How could she not see that? She completely brushed my complaints under the rug and said that an animal wasn't worth my time and trouble, and that my only living relation, her, needed my time and attention more. I doubled my efforts in trying to get the house sold. Soon, I got a few good offers. I looked at the most advantageous and immediately closed the deal. I wanted to hurt my mother as she had hurt me. I talked to my lawyer, and my mother soon got served with an eviction notice. She called me hysterically and sent me angry voice notes, but I ignored her. She had no choice but to move out. Before she packed her belongings, I made sure to sneak into the house and put a few of my expensive watches and a credit card that I owned deep within her stuff. My revenge wasn't over yet. She moved to a hotel and I waited till she had spent a few nights there to cancel her credit cards. The hotel manager reported her to the police when she was unable to pay for the time she had spent there. She spent a day or two in lockup before being released. Afterward, when she got out, I reported the watches and credit card that I had put in her suitcase as missing and got her harassed by the police to recover them. During this time, she called me repeatedly saying that she was sorry and that she had lived in that house for 20 years. She said that she wouldn't do anything like that again and to let her go back to the house. I told her that all her problems were her own. I had warned her repeatedly and all she had done was being cruel. After a while, I finally had some good news. The private investigator I had hired had finally found my dog, after a harrowing and lonely period of 3 months. He got me the contact number of the family who had bought him. I immediately contacted them and offered to pay them to double what they had originally paid for him. They agreed, and the next weekend, I drove across the states to go get my best friend back. When I got back, I got a new house for myself and my dog. I never told my mother where I lived and forbade my contacts from telling her too. I did feel a little bad for her, and so I just sent her enough money to get back on her feet. She tried blackmailing me for more, but I didn't give in. Soon, she started to do odd jobs to make a living. She moved far away from the city, where rent was cheaper and she could afford a house. She was miserable without any family. She would often call my aunt and complain to her about her living conditions. She somehow managed to get my address and came home a couple of times, asking for my forgiveness. She promised me that she had seen the error of her ways and that she deserved a second chance. She said that she would never do anything to my dog ever again and would look after him when I was at work, and that she would never give me cause to complain ever again. I felt bad for her. After all, she had been a perfect mother all my life. I decided to forgive her after some time. She had gone through numerous hardships on her own, and I felt a little guilty for that. I invited her back after a while. She had turned over a new leaf. She was never mean or cruel to my dog after that, and for that, I was incredibly thankful. Now, here is the end of our first story, and I hope you are enjoying my content. So, guys, let me know your opinion about this story in the comments section, and you can also share about your bond with your pet, and I would love to read them. So before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories. Now, moving to our final story, in which the telecom service provider defrauds OP and the entire town, so OP kicks the entire service firm out of the city. Now story. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided that we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 per month all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later, I log into the website and see that there was already a bill for $139. I call up a rep to see what was up, and they tell me that between the activation fees, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me, and they told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service but could not or would not waive the bill. They also told me if I canceled immediately, my wife and I would lose our phone numbers. So I figure since I already have to pay for the month, and I don't want to lose my phone number, I will just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and wanted to cancel the service. I again ask for a refund. The rep informs me that since I have had the service for 4 days, I am not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming because the first CSR that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I ask for the next level of CSR and they send me to customer care and retention person. I explain the entire fiasco to him and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, the sales rep and first CSR. He is a cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I am very thankful and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received and is now late. I again pick up the phone and call AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 CSR reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time I did not have the chill dude. Instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by, and no response. I call again. This time I get a very nice lady that is sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later I get a letter in the mail from Sequim Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt, since it's bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in and sure enough, Sequim has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately write letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark. Another 3 months go by and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in New York again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable because it appears that Sequim couldn't verify it, so instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I send another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of the story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing, I am not cash strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I have lost 5x that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters, but I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town, and when I was going over our monthly expenses I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and IT director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks ago the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money and getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it, AT&T. Now, here is the end of our today's story. I hope you guys are enjoying my content. And let me know if you had any similar stories, or your experience with such scammy telecommunications service providers. Or you can also share your opinion about the story in the comments section. So before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories.